welcome to another episode of Walk Worthy, and my name is Joshua Broome, and I am so excited to be here with you. And over the next few episodes, I want to explore some of the things that you, the audience, have been reaching out to me, and it being June, it's men's mental health. That is a lot of the focus that many organizations and people around the world are speaking into. And for me personally, it's a big part of my story. And being on staff here at the American Association of Christian Counselors, what I want to contribute to is, hey, what does it look like to walk worthy of the calling you received? What does it look like to understand that Jesus is Lord over everything? Our body, our mind, our sexuality, our mental health. And I just want to invite you into my healing journey. And what I love is I have been just blessed to heal out loud. And what we're going to talk about today is mental health. What did it look like for me to go from really struggling, asking the question, do I want to continue to live? Do I want to continue to walk down this journey that I have been walking down? Because I truly thought at one point in my life that if I had enough money, if I had enough stuff, if I had status, if I had enough people patting me on my back, I would feel encouraged enough, feel good enough about myself that the voices from myself, the voices from my inadequacies and my brokenness that were saying, hey, you're not enough. You're the same kid that his dad didn't want, and the shame that came with that, the confusion that came with that, and how that was catalytic in me making decisions that were not best for me, that opened up doors for brokenness for me. Man, it's been quite a journey. And to look back on 2012, 2013, when I was at really the pinnacle of success, when I was in the porn industry, that I couldn't have been much more successful. I was making more money than I had ever had the opportunity to make before in my life. I had more affirmation and accolades than I'd ever had before in my life. And I was one of the top people, the most respected people in that industry. And I wasn't necessarily proud of that, but it did present the opportunity for me to believe that if I accomplished enough and earned enough and I was sought after enough and applauded enough in that industry, that I would feel as if I was enough. And I really hoped that the feeling of me being enough would quiet the voice that I wasn't, that I was this kid that his dad didn't want, and I didn't think very highly of myself. And when I laid my head down on the pillow at night, I would think, man, I wish I was someone other than me. I wish that somehow, some way, I was different. I was someone other than myself, so that I would have access to a different life. And I tried to augment that in being in the porn industry, because you go by a pseudonym and you live, a different life. So it's almost like I was vicariously living through a augmented personality. It was an interesting time, but what I wanted to invite you into is the reality of what I was walking through, and the freedom that I discovered, and the transformation that took place, in that it transformed my identity. And man, wherever you are today, wherever you are, whether you're a follower of Jesus, whether you're curious about Jesus, or if you're angry at God, or you're wrestling with your mental health, or you're passionate about mental health, I just want to invite you into this conversation. This is what has transpired in my life, and the focus is mental health. And I want to talk, an honest, open, transparent conversation about this. So where I want to start is this reality that if you're in this season right now, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you chose to either listen to this or watch this video. And I want to just encourage you where this isn't going to be a long conversation, but I think it's going to be an important conversation. So I encourage you to stick around and to not go anywhere and listen to the podcast all the way through. So number one, I want to start with there was this version of me that no one saw. And it was from the outside. My life looked like I was winning. It was a highlight reel. And maybe you feel like that when you go on social media and you see, the snapshots of someone's life, of someone's family, of someone's accomplishments, and you think, man, if I had their life, I would feel what they do because they look happy and I don't. And that time I spent in the industry, I had almost a 7-year career in that industry, and I had money and attention and access to things that some people don't. And many people are told if you chase it and you get it, you'll feel incredible. That's winning, on paper. But every night I went to bed, and every morning I woke up, I felt more empty than I did the night prior. And mornings are my favorite. Like today, I love the morning. I love to try to win the morning. And the way I win the morning is I get up, I'll read, I won't consume, I will shape my mind, I will ingest something that's good for me. Electrolytes, water, do a little salt, get a little sodium, get a little caffeine, and I will read my Bible, read something that I'm interested in, and it will shape my day, and I will kind of recalibrate my life. And I love the mornings. I love breakfast with my family. I just love everything about it. I love when the sun comes up. I love the way that the sun looks, the way the outside feels, the way it sounds. I just love everything about the morning, but I used to hate it. Because it was a reminder of another day that I had to go through feeling like I did. And maybe you can resonate with that. And I was empty. That's what I wanted to share. The version of me that no one saw is that I was empty. And I just want to acknowledge that maybe you feel that way. That it's true that you can be in a room full of people and feel completely alone. You can be surrounded by people all day, all night, and feel completely alone. You can even be in a house full of people and feel so alone. It's empty in a different way that you maybe can't even have, you can't even formulate the words to articulate. It doesn't feel like this, dramatic movie scene. It's just this slow leak in a tire where you feel discontent and disoriented, and you start having these like negative thoughts, and it's like a train that just eventually keeps picking up steam, and it just gets worse and worse. And maybe every once in a while you have a good day, but then a bad day, and that's just the story of my life. And I was really performing for people. Not only was my job performance, but each and every day, what I posted on social media, I was hoping to get the high from, having affirmation from people, someone telling me I'm awesome, likes on a photo, likes on a video, comments, encouragement. And I really wanted those things so I would feel better than I did. And that's just a tough way to go about life. And I did that interactions with people. I dressed a certain way. I wanted to look a certain way because I was craving I just wanted someone to tell me that I was okay, so I'd feel okay because I didn't feel okay. And this is such a draining way to go through life. And you just keep showing up and smiling, and you know that the smile's fake. You know that the laugh is, it lacks depth. You know, when someone asks you, how are you? You want to cry out for help, but you have to pretend like you're okay when you're not, because what would it look like for you to acknowledge you felt like you did? It's terrifying. And success made that worse. Because I told myself if I got a little more, if I did a little more, or if I heard a little more encouragement, if I had some more affirmation, if I had some more accolades, if I had more money, if I had more success, maybe that would be the thing that would fix me. And what everyone saw on the outside was a facade, because they looked like, when they looked at me, I was winning in life, but I was so broken. And maybe you can resonate with that in some way, because, man, that's what shame does. It causes you to hide. It causes you to take the worst chapter of your story, and it prints the title on the whole book, because what you feel is who you are, and so this is what you do, and this is just the destiny and the story of my life. So this is the way. It's just the way that it is. So what am I to do? And once you believe that, you start to hide, and hiding is lonely. And loneliness is the exact soil where the darkest thoughts grow best. You see, shame says the worst thing about me is the truest thing about me. And that is a lie. That's a lie. You're not what happened to you. You're not what you did. And the second thing I want to talk about is when you begin to believe that, that's when the darkness creeps in. It's this reality that this switch flips, and the bad day just becomes a bad life. Every once in a while you would interact with a certain group of people, or you would do a certain activity, and maybe you would be in a certain season. You would feel good, but just sometimes you're melancholy and you're up and down. But when you get to a place where all of a sudden there are no good days, and you'll do the best you can to put on the smile. And I think this is not exclusively true for men, but men often believe they need to pretend like they're okay when they're not. They need to smile when they're not happy. When they're asked how are they doing, they need to say good, because you have believed a lie that it is somehow weak to say that I'm not okay when I'm not okay. So you would just rather lie and say you're okay instead of being vulnerable and saying, hey, I need help. I need to talk with someone. I need someone to sit with me. I'm not okay.
Hey, real quick. If you've been telling yourself, I'll deal with this later, let this be your moment. If you want to live with integrity online and you're tired of fighting private battles in secret, Covenant Eyes can help. It's accountability software designed to bring transparency to your devices and support healthier choices, not just through willpower, but through trusted relationships. And right now, you can try Covenant Eyes with a 30-day free trial. Just use the link in the show notes or visit covenanteyes.com and use promo code AACC on screen to get your 30 days free. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing to take the next step. Covenant Eyes. Take the step into the light.
It's okay to not be okay, but my encouragement to you is to not be okay with staying not okay. And the way that we get out of the place that we don't want to be is we tell someone, I need to fight against the bent within me to be isolated. And if that's where you are right now, I want you to notice something, that the fact that it feels normal doesn't mean that it's true. The fact that this is just how it is, this is what I do every day, this is the, week after week, this is just how I live, you can completely get used to this. It can become a normative part of your personality and your reality. It's just like, man, I'm just going through life and it stinks, man. You don't have to stay there. I stayed there for almost 30 years of a slow drip until the last 5 years of my life were miserable, so miserable. And then one night, and this is, the third part is one night, one time at some point, it's going to seem as if the bottom falls out. Like today's a day where it all goes wrong. It's like there's this culmination of everything you've been wrestling with, everything you've been afraid of. Maybe someone finds out something, or maybe you've just had enough. I remember I was alone, and I had just did something in the industry that I was in. I just did something, and I felt humiliated. I felt belittled. I felt dirty. And it's almost like there's a movie called Redeeming Love. And there's a scene where this girl, she's a prostitute escort. She's working in a brothel. It's, to modernize the language. And she had left this life. She had met someone, and then she had started living a life of quietness. She met someone that honored her, that took care of her, and she was no longer doing and living the way that she once was. And the quiet, the peace, the non-chaotic environment felt scary, because chaos is the only thing that she's ever known. And when chaos is the only thing you've ever known, comfortable, quiet, a quiet house is scary, because more often than not in your life, quiet or stillness, it is just an inevitable avalanche of pain, of frustration. And she's left she left the life that she was living. She was living a better life, and then she intentionally went back into that chaos and felt the guilt that came with that. And there's this scene where she is in this stream, and she has a rock, and she's in the water, and she's scrubbing her skin. And what she's trying to wash off, it's not on her skin, it's in her soul, it's in her mind, it's in her heart. And she just wants to be someone other than who she is. She needs to get off of her what she feels. And that's the kind of day I was having. And I want to be really careful with this, because maybe you're in the same place. Maybe you're in a place where something has happened to you, or you've made a decision and you feel like it's too much. You've gone too far. There's no going back. I just want you to know that that's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie from the pit of hell. There is an enemy called Satan that wants to kill, steal, and destroy you. I want you to know that your story is not over, that you are valued, that your life matters, that even though it feels as if it's always going to be this way, there is light at the tunnel. And I know this because Jesus sees you. He went to the cross and died for you so that you could not only be forgiven, but have abundant life, so you can be restored, so that you could be redeemed, so that you could be made new, so that you could discover how incredible and uniquely beautiful that God has made you, that He has put gifts and talents within you, which fully surrendered to Him and expressed in the way in which glorifies him and is for good for you, all of a sudden you begin to understand that, yes, there is a God who loves you so much that he created you with a plan and a purpose for your life. And that plan and purpose, guess what? He's given you everything that you need to do whatever he has called you to do. But staying stuck where you are doing what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. So maybe today's the day that you do something new, that you reach out to someone, that you call out to God, that you reach out to a counselor maybe. I don't know what your next step is, but I just want to encourage you. If you feel like your world is crumbling around you, my encouragement is to say, hey, you don't have to stay where you are. And whatever is inside of you that's leading you into isolation, fight it. Fight against it. Because you might thinking, well, thinking about me. Well, why didn't you tell anybody? If it was that bad, why didn't you tell anyone? Well, I think there's the first lie that, if anyone knew what I was going through, if anyone knew what I did, if anyone knew what happened, how would they look at me? Or anyone that's in my life, if they knew what was actually going on, they would leave. So I cannot let anyone all the way in. I just have to keep the door shut. And that lie, it tells you that your relationships are built on a version of you that would collapse if the truth about you ever got out. But I just want you to know that the fake, the facade version of you, the real version of you is actually better. It's actually better. And I just want you to know that you are a person deserving of love, and you are loved by God tremendously. And lie number 3 is, this is just who I am now. You can believe when you're stuck that this is not something I've done, or this is not something that happened to me. This is who I am. That's the way that shame works. And this steals your future, because if nothing ever changes, then what's the point of tomorrow? And that's exactly what the lie wants. The lie wants you to be convinced that your story is over, but you're actually only halfway through the chapter that you're in. You're just getting started. You see, all those lies, they feel like they're just simple facts. It's like, well, just don't believe that. But if you're wrestling with that, I'm sure that you can relate that even if it's a lie, if you believe it to be true, man, it feels really true. There's a common thread that there is a strategy, and it's the enemy. The enemy of your soul does not need you to do anything dramatic. He just wants you to stay quiet and stay alone, because if you're quiet and alone, no one can speak truth into you. And if you're alone, maybe people even think you're okay, but you won't be. And you don't have to fix yourself before you go talk to someone. You don't have to clean yourself up before you go to God, or clean yourself up before you go to church, or fix your life and make sure that my life is in order before I speak to a counselor. That is just not true. We don't clean ourselves up before we get in the shower. So the way that we get the thing that we need, we just go. We just ask. And just whatever voice is in your head, I know it's real, that's stopping you from getting help, but just confess. Confess that you need help. Confess that you did the thing. Tell someone that something happened. Whatever it is that you don't want to say, that unmentionable thing that you feel that is impossible to say, once you say it, the weight that will come off of you. Lord, I feel your presence. To the person listening, if you are willing to say the thing that you don't want to say, God will do the thing that he has not yet done. And he's not just sitting there watching you squirm. He's standing there with his arms wide open, waiting on you to come to him. So run to God. Whatever the Spirit of God's been speaking to you, listen. You're worth it. your story's not over. You don't have to stay stuck where you are. And I love when people say, hey, so what changed? What was the big aha moment in your life? Well, it was a process, but there was this moment where I walked into a bank. And when I walked into this bank, I had a plan. And I wanted someone to agree with me that I was as bad off as I thought I was. And I brought a check into this bank. And when I was in the porn industry, I didn't generally, I never deposited these checks, by handing them to a person. I would do it Dropbox or ATM or any other means than hand it to a person, because I didn't want that person to look down at the memo of the check and see that it was clearly money that was compensating me for doing pornography, for selling myself for sex, and then deal with the shame of how I felt when they looked at me. But on this day, that's exactly what I wanted. I walked into that bank and I handed her a check, and on this day, it was particularly grotesque what was documented on the check, and I knew that it would at least raise an eyebrow, and I hoped that when I handed it to her, she would say, yeah, you're as gross as you feel, you're as dirty as you look. But she said nothing. She said nothing. And that was a weird experience, because her saying nothing, it actually was the thing that made me broke, because I really needed her to agree with me. So it would essentially be fuel for me to harm myself. And she instead saw me weeping because she didn't respond how I wanted her to. She just, here's your receipt. I just began to weep uncontrollably because I just wanted the pain to stop. And she came around the corner. It was the middle of the day. There was, somehow, some way, there was no one in the bank but us. There was other people working there, but there was no one else in line. And she came around the corner and put her hand gently on my shoulder and said, Joshua, are you okay? Joshua, can I get you some help? And it just, it just like woke me up, because number one, I hadn't heard my name in somewhere between 18 months and 2 years. It had been a long time since I heard someone say Joshua, because I'd gone by a pseudonym for a long time, and I had stopped answering the phone when my mother was calling me or texting me, or anyone that loved me enough to say, Joshua, what are you doing with your life? Because I didn't think I could change, and I didn't think I could leave the industry. So the people who loved me, who said, hey, you're better than this, you have to stop, you need to come home, you need to stop. Well, I didn't believe that I could, because I believed that's who I was. Not something that I wanted to continue doing. I thought that my only worth was selling myself in that way. So that's the only thing I could do. So because I couldn't do anything else, of course I couldn't stop, because that's just who I was. So what else am I to do? So I couldn't face someone who cared about me telling me something that I couldn't do. So my defense mechanism was just to push everyone away. So I hadn't heard my name in almost 2 years. And that bank teller said Joshua, which means Yahweh is salvation. All of a sudden, my eyes were open to maybe I'm not who I thought I was. And I called my mom, and she told me she loved me, and that she was frustrated that I hadn't answered her calls, but she loved me, and she'd always be my mom. And she thought so much of me, and she pleaded with me to leave the industry. And that day I did, and that was the last day I was in that industry. And soon after that, I left California, and I came home, and it was 2 years almost before I came to know the person of Jesus Christ as my Lord and my Savior. But it was that moment that saved my life. And it was that moment that changed everything. And then 2 years later, I met a girl, and I told her when I met her, I'm like, hey, I'm this kid that did all this bad stuff, and I'm a kid that grew up without a dad, and that equated to a lot of brokenness in my life, and I've done a lot of things that I was not proud of, and many of the things that created the most shame in my life, well, they were documented on the internet for the world to see. So because of those things, well, this is now who I am. And her response, well, she asked me, was I still doing those things? And the answer was no. It had been about 2 years since I left, but I continue to tell her, I'm like, well, yeah, I'm not doing those things anymore, but this is who I am. I am this fatherless porn star that is broken, and my sin is documented. And she's like, okay, well, I don't want to minimize your pain, but guess what? You're not defined by the worst thing you've ever done. And you won't be defined by the greatest thing you ever do. Because you are not the author of you. And that doesn't mean that what is painful shouldn't hurt. That doesn't mean that what you did or what was done to you shouldn't equate to consequences in some regard. It doesn't mean that the trauma is not real. It just means that it doesn't define you. God does, because he created you. He knitted you together in your mother's womb and has a plan and a purpose for your life. And he loved you so much that he sent his son to live a perfect life, to die on the cross, and to raise again on the third day. And if you put your faith in that, man, guess what? You are born again and you have a new life. So what if you're hearing that for the first time and you're asking, could that be true? Could that be true for me? And the answer is yes. If you place your faith in the person of Jesus, he will make you new. He will forgive your sins. He will transform you. But what if you have already placed your faith in Jesus and there's brokenness in your life and you feel like, I know Jesus, but I'm still broken? I would encourage you to do what I did, and I continue to do over the last 11 years. Invite him and trusted people into the broken places that you feel like are too dark or too broken or too painful. Invite them in and watch him move. Again, if you're struggling with your mental health, we want to attach resources for you. I want to encourage you to tell someone, whether it's calling 988, whether it's calling a trusted friend, reaching out to a pastor or a leader, whatever it is, I just petition you to not believe the lie that this is just who I am and I have to continue to stay stuck where you are, because that's what I believed. And over a decade later, I love my life. I wake up with joy every day. I have everything I was certain I did not have. And yeah, it's been hard. I was, intense discipleship process, going through counseling, dealing with things that come up over time. But man, there's healing available to you. There's joy that's available to you. There's a plan that's available to you because God loves you. And he is a master in restoration and redemption. He brings dead things to life. He brings destroyed dreams back to reality. So whatever you think is not possible, it can be possible when you surrender your life fully to the person of Jesus and walk with people. The healing journey is hard, but it's worth it. You're worth it. I love you. I'm for you. And I cannot wait to hear how God redeems and restores your life. And you get to be on the other side saying, hey, maybe someone comes to you and you say, you hear them talking about something that you've went through, something that you've overcome, and you get to say, hey, I hear you, and I've actually walked through the same thing. And here's what I did, and here's how God moved. And I just want to tell you, it's going to be difficult, but it's worth it, and God is going to be with you every step of the way. He sees you. He loves you. He has a plan for your life. I'm proud of you. Thank you for sticking with me for the entirety of this podcast. And my encouragement is to you, that anything that you feel like you need to say that you don't want to say, write it down and find someone that you trust, that's mature, and tell them. Tell them. Whatever it is, whether it be something that happened to you or something you did or a pain that you're experiencing, and there's something that you want to accomplish, but you feel like it's impossible. Say it out loud. Write it down and then say it out loud and watch God move. I love you. I hope that you have an incredible day, and I cannot wait to see you next time.
Hey, real quick. If you've been telling yourself, I'll deal with this later, let this be your moment. If you want to live with integrity online and you're tired of fighting private battles in secret, Covenant Eyes can help. It's accountability software designed to bring transparency to your devices and support healthier choices, not just through willpower, but through trusted relationships. And right now, you can try Covenant Eyes with a 30-day free trial. Just use the link in the show notes or visit covenanteyes.com and use promo code AACC on screen to get your 30 days free. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing to take the next step. Covenant Eyes. Take the step into the light.